my motto, nothing's ever holding back.
Hello and welcome back to the Lone Road iRacers podcast. I'm Guy Robertson, your host. This is where you get your weekly fix for all things iRacing, brought to you by someone who knows what it's like to grind out iRating the long way round. And today's episode is an in-depth look at one of the most feature-packed updates iRacing has released in years, the 2025 Season 3. Whether you're brand new to the sim or a long-time racer looking for fresh content, you want to strap in because this update touches about everything, from new cars and tracks to AI expansion, wet weather racing, improved force feedback and graphical updates. But more than that, it sets the stage for the second half of the year. If Season 2 was all about refinement, then Season 3 is all about evolution. In today's episode, we'll walk through each major update, unpack what it means for the average iRacer, and give you some tips on what to expect, how to prepare, and where to get the most fun and value out of the new content. And in the second half, we're going to shift gears a bit. We're going to look ahead. What should the dedicated sim racer be doing right now to get ready for the new season? What changes should you be making to your practice routine, your equipment, settings, or even your weekly racing schedule? So sit back, grab your telemetry data, and let's break down this monster of an update. Well, already we're in Season 3, or the very start of it anyway. Personally, I can't believe how quick the year's gone already, and I can't believe it at the end of Season 2 either. However, we're always hungry on iRacing for new content, new challenges, and improvements. That's what we're looking for season on season. And iRacing delivers something every time. Listening to some of the other podcasts, that hasn't always been the same. So we really must appreciate what iRacing provide for us, the users of their content. So let's begin with the shiny new stuff. And we touched base a little bit on this car in the couple of episodes ago now. We have the Ferrari 296 Challenge. Now, this isn't just another GT car, this is Ferrari's latest Spec Series racer, purpose-built for the track, but based on its 296 GTB road car. It's a mid-engine V6 with hybrid boost, producing jaw-dropping acceleration and intense cornering performance. In iRacing, it brings a sharper, more aggressive driving profile than older 488 Challenge Evo. So how does it feel? Think planted but twitchy. If you're lazy with your imports, the rear end steps out. But if you've developed good throttle discipline and strong car rotation techniques, this car rewards you with an almost kart-like responsiveness. It's perfect for one-make leagues and offline AI racing. And thanks to its sleek looks and strong audio model, it's already becoming a favourite for custom livery designers. And I've already put 3 out there, folks. If anybody's interested, a livery for the Ferrari 296, find my page on Trading Paints. The feedback I've seen on this car already on iRacing just from week 13 is really, really good. Lots of YouTube feedback as well from the likes of Dave Cam and other people like that, actually saying how good the car is. So I'm sure it'll be very popular when the new season launches, or will have launched by the time this podcast is out, folks. But yeah, looking forward to painting more of those cars also. Now, let's talk nostalgia. The NASCAR Gen 4 Monte Carlo and Ford Taurus are now fully in the sim, representing the 2003 era. These aren't reskin nationwide cars, these are scratch built from new data and laser scans, featuring different body packages for various track types. Short track, you'll get the aggressive downforce package. Super speedway, expect long tail aero balance. Intermediate, you're somewhere kind of in between the both. These Gen 4s don't have the downforce of modern cars, so they drive and feel loose. They will roll. They lift the nose under throttle and slam the tail under braking. They demand throttle control, steering correction, and most of all, patience. For oval drivers who felt disconnected from the sim's more modern content, this is probably a breath of fresh air for those drivers. It's a throwback to the rawness of stock car racing before the high downforce packages came in. Pair these with legacy tracks like North Wilkesboro or Rockingham, and you've got a time machine back to NASCAR's most visceral era. Now, I haven't personally driven these cars, so I haven't got any feedback at all. But I'm sure it's creating some excitement in the oval license section on iRacing. So, be interesting to see what happens with those new cars and what the feedback is as the season progresses. Now we're going to move on to a new track that, again, a couple of shows ago we went into detail. It's the Bend. It's going to be a new global flavour. So we're going to start this section. So the standout new track this season is Shell V-Power Motorsport Park, also known as the Bend, located in South Australia. It's one of the most modern racing facilities in the world, and now it's ours to master in iRacing. The international layout featured in the sim is 4.9 kilometres or 3.1 miles long, with 18 turns and a combination of sweeping fast corners, tight technical sections and blind crests that reward precision and bravery. It's a track designed for flexibility, suited to GT3, touring cars, open wheel and even supercars. So what makes the Bend so special? First, visibility is limited in several key sections. You have blind braking zones over hills, deceptive apexes hidden by elevation, and some nasty off-camber exits that punish overconfidence. This is a track where your visual references matter. Learning your brake markers, exit points and building up muscle memory here is critical. Secondly, there's the runoff. Like many modern circuits, the Bend has generous runoff areas in many corners, but they're paved, and that means track limits will become a talking point. You'll need to be disciplined about keeping it within the white lines, especially in official races where 1 and 4x penalties can add up pretty quick. Expect to see the Bend appear in IMSA, Super Formula and GT Sprint schedules throughout the season. It's one of those circuits that actually you'll grow to love as your lap times fall. But prepare for a steep learning curve in week 1. Now, I have taken the new Ferrari that we've just spoke about onto the Bend to give it some practice laps and to try and learn the track. Now, I'm going to compare the Bend to the Green Hell, aka the Nordschleife at the Nürburgring. It is clearly a completely different track to the Nordschleife, but it is harder to learn. Now, what do I mean by that? There is less landscaped visual pointers, markers for reference points as you go around this track. As it touched based on there is blind crests and the turning points at the top of these crests. But unless you remember it, you don't know if you're going left or right, you easily get lost. There's no visual marker to actually see. You've just got, it's a bit like the skyline at Panorama, where the track just seems to fall away. There's a few corners like that. There's also some sharp blind downward sections as well, leading into tight corners. So I found a lot of the time the same corners I was carrying too much speed. I couldn't get the car to slow down and turn in. So yeah, you was quickly off track. And as I mentioned in the podcast a couple of weeks ago, there's 5 or 6 different layouts of this track that are in iRacing now. And at times there is no cones covering that entrance up. So once I even took the wrong part of the track and had to quickly get it back on. So it is difficult to learn, folks. That is my feedback. The rest of it is as you would expect in iRacing, really good once you stay on the track. But yeah, I'm struggling to learn it. I think I've spent an hour on it so far, and my mind's blown every time I do a new lap. I always seem to take the wrong corner or drive too fast at the wrong bit. So I might have to get a load of post-it notes around my screen to say, this corner, slow down, turn in early, second gear, whatever, just to give me that prompt till it becomes muscle memory. Now we're going to be back in a second and we're going to talk about physics overhauls and tyre model changes, which is clearly one of the other big things that iRacing have launched with this new season build. Season 3 has brought some sweeping changes to the physics model of 3 major racing classes: GT3s, Gen 7 Cup cars and the Dallara IR18. So we're going to start with the GT3. As these are one of the most popular cars to race on the series, but recently complaints have mounted that they've gone too easy, basically. With Season 3, the tyre behaviour has been adjusted to allow more progressive breakaway and re-grip. But what does that actually mean? You'll feel slip starting earlier with more audible and tactile cues, giving you time to adjust your inputs before disaster strikes. For those running the GT3 Endurance and Sprint series, this changes your race management completely. The cars wear tyres more linearly now, rewarding smoothness and penalising overly aggressive steering or throttle applications. Long run pace is now more about rhythm than aggression. Now, I've heard some feedback and again a few videos on YouTube assessing the improvement before and after, and it's all positive feedback that I've heard. I've also heard though that lap 1 and 2 are a lot more treacherous until you get your tyres up to racing temperature, shall we say. So that's just something to be aware of as you're transitioning. It might take you 5 or 6 to 10 laps to get used to the new tyre models, but don't give up, bear with it. The Gen 7 NASCAR Cup car also has seen some major updates. They now respond more naturally to throttle modulation mid-corner, especially on shorter tracks where earlier versions felt too stiff and reactive. Aero wash from following cars is also rebalanced, making multi-car packs slightly more manageable. If you felt like you had to drive them on edge too much before, now you'll basically have room to experiment. And then there's the Dallara IR18, already one of the most complex cars in the sim. It now features new suspension modelling, updated tyre stiffness, and a better relationship between ride height and downforce. You'll feel curbs more distinctly, you'll feel understeer sooner, and importantly, you'll have to rethink your previous setups, especially the bumpier road and street circuits, folks. So that's all about what's been done with the cars and the tyre models. But iRacing is still working on a couple of things that they've been bringing to the sim with modifications season by season. We're going to talk about AI expansion and rain here. So adaptive AI is now in hosted and AI seasons, which is a massive leap for those who prefer solo or controlled multiplayer racing. Instead of fixed strength opponents, The AI now adjusts based on your previous performance, providing consistently close racing. So if you want a 20-car field that challenges you but doesn't wreck you every turn, that's now a tick in the box, folks. So for me, that is a real good new training ground for learning racecraft. Whether you're a newbie or you're just struggling on certain tracks in certain conditions, you can now set those up and actually really get into a battle with other cars which doesn't affect your safety rating or your iRating. It's a perfect world. There's also several new cars that are AI compatible, including the Ferrari 296 Challenge, the Audi R18, the Porsche 919 Hybrid and the Silver Crown. You can now run multi-class AI events or test against LMP1 machinery without being online. 11 new track configurations also received in AI training, including the Bend and the Daytona Moto layout. Now, we know iRacing has been tinkering with the rain since it launched. iRacing is slowly expanding wet weather capability. 5 Formula cars are now rain enabled. They are the IR18, the Lotus 79, the Skip Barber F2000 and both the Super Formula cars in the SF23 series. More importantly, rain effects and puddle modelling have been improved behind the scenes, making grip more dynamic based on line choice. Rain racing is still not everywhere, but it's growing fast, so expect rain-enabled series in select hosted and special events during Season 3. We're going to come back in a second and we're going to talk about what's been mentioned in Season 3 launch for VR, force feedback and UI upgrades. VR users, this one's for you. iRacing now supports fixed foveated rendering, hopefully I've said that right, via OpenXR, which does that. But basically what does that do? It prioritizes full resolution graphics in the area you're looking directly at, while lowering quality at the edges to save GPU power. This can yield FPS gains by 15 to 20%, making races smoother and more immersive on mid to high-end headsets. Force feedback now supports 360Hz update rates, which translates to smoother steering wheel motion, better detailed transmission and more confidence in mid-corner corrections. There's also expanded low-frequency support, which enhances the tactile feedback while running over curves or experiencing tyre slip. And there's a new CPU warning system which notifies you when your machine is approaching performance limits. Rather than letting the sim choke mid-race, it gives you a heads up to adjust your settings or session parameters. And I've seen a few Facebook images where people have been getting that in week 13, rather confused to actually what it means. So clearly it's there in the release notes, you've just got to read through and look at it. So we're going to touch base now really about what you should be doing as part of your preparation for the new season and what every iRacer should really be doing. So we're going to end today's podcast with a look forward of how you should be preparing for the new iRacing season. So number one is audit your content. Now the pre-release schedule has already been released, so you could... I think it leaves, they cannot update it further within 2 days of release, so that should be Saturday. Should be the last time it can get updated. But basically check the season's schedule and see which cars and tracks are being used in the series that you're going to participate in. Then compare with your owned content. If you're missing 3 or more race weeks in a 12-week series, it may be time to either invest or shift to a series where you can maximise participation credits, folks. and that's the $4 that iRacing give us if we've done, I think it's 8 weeks or more. Update setups. So with the tyre and physics changes to GT3s, Gen 7 and IR18, old setups are basically obsolete. So download new baseline sets from trusted sources like VRS, Craig's Setup Shop or Coach Dave Academy. If you build your own, start from the iRacing baselines and test at low fuel lows to spot issues. What about recalibrating your hardware? If you're using a high-end wheel with updated FFB settings, recalibrate your force feedback gain and filtering. Take time to tweak your pedal curves and adjust brake force if you've been locking up easily in the new tyre models. And practice wet weather. As we've discussed, it's changed slightly, so if you plan to race in the rain-enabled series, get familiar with the new puddle lines, reduced braking zones and the steering feel in damp conditions. Start with a skippy, for example, in the wet. It's the best learning platform for developing car control. And have you thought about joining a community? So there's no better time to get involved in leagues or Discord groups. Many leagues will begin new seasons just days after the update. This gives you consistency, camaraderie and cleaner racing. I have my own Discord. If anybody's interested in joining it, please send me an email and we'll talk about it, or search for Mupar Gaming on Discord. So that really wraps it up, listeners and viewers. It's going to be an exciting new season we've got coming ahead. And that wraps up the deep dive into what has been launched. From high-power Ferraris to classic NASCAR Thunder, from sweeping Aussie corners to high-tech AI and VR upgrades, this season is a defining moment in iRacing's evolution. Remember though, folks, it's not just about driving faster, it's about learning more, racing smarter and growing as a iRacer. Use the start of this season to recalibrate your mindset and routines, push yourself to be more consistent, more prepared and more engaged. Thanks for tuning in to the Lone Road iRacers podcast. If you liked today's episode, leave us a rating, share with your teams and fellow iRacers. We are looking for a sponsor as well, as we're going to start going into my season 4 sometime in early October. So I'm already putting it out there. That's the ideal time for a new sponsor, and also co-hosts. You know what I do is, I enjoy doing it. It's pretty easy, but I'd like to get more voices back on the podcast. So if anybody's interested, drop me an email. Until next week, folks, the start of a new season. Good luck out there, stay safe and happy iRacing, and I'll see you on the track soon.
Whatever it takes, we're racing, we're in the zone. Whatever it takes, we push hard, never alone. I'm in the cockpit, the engines roar, hear me now. We're racing circles, got a hustle made a vow. Chasing victory, it's all or nothing on the track. Sweet is my motto, nothing's ever holding back. Whatever it takes, we're racing, we're in the zone.